Guys, and welcome to the EPL review of season 2013-14. I'm Cutsy, this is Van Gelly, and welcome to the panel, Tim Juices, Tottenham fan. Good to have you here, Timmy.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here, boys. Looking forward to having a chat about all things Premier League. Should be exciting.
Oh, it really will be, mate. So basically how this episode is going to work, guys, is we're going to go through our top 5 talking points from the season. Then there's going to be a nice little montage of our predictions from the EPL preview. There are some funny ones. And then we're going to go through our awards and team of the season. So, firstly, guys, our first talking point is the David Moyes saga. So he didn't have a great season. No. He ended up being sacked 4 games before the end of it. Yes. What did you guys make of that? We'll start with you, Ellis.
So me, never liked it from the beginning. I told all my Man United mates that he was going to do poorly. And I'll reference one conversation with Lucas Cooper where I said that David Moyes would bring the club down. This was on the eve of the All-Stars game in Australia. And he said, nah, he's going to do great. Do great at Everton. He'll lead us to numerous Premier Leagues. Good one, Koopy. Moyes was not good at all. I think at the end of the day, it wasn't... I mean, he finished 7th when he was sacked. Yeah. That was 7th. I think that would almost still pass as being acceptable if it hadn't been for the way they played all season. It was just the way they played. It just looked so fruitless and a road to nowhere really. And I think that's what convinced the board that he was not the right man. Not the fact that he didn't make the top 4 or didn't win anything, because after a renaissance that was Alex Ferguson, you can expect the incumbent to not succeed.
Juice?
Yeah, well, I actually liked the appointment. I thought that what Moyes had done at Everton was, I thought he did a good job there. They played attractive football, and I thought it was, a reward. Well, I thought they played relatively good football for when I did watch Everton. I thought they were good to watch, and I thought it was a good reward for Moyes to be appointed the Man United manager. And I thought, good on him. I hoped that he did well, but I guess they never really got going. They never really got any momentum throughout the season, I thought. If they did have 1 or 2 good games, they never really followed it up with any other good games. So I thought the sacking of him was probably the correct thing. They're a proud club, and they probably couldn't allow it to go on any further, really. So,
Cutsy, I'll ask you, was it ever a concern that this club that was used to... They were a title-winning machine. They were never really used to not winning anything, and it never really happened, and they were bringing in someone who's never won anything. Was that ever a concern?
I think it was a concern, but the players you would have hoped would still be able to step up. I think winning was in their blood, I think, for all those players who were in that team. Well, the year before they won quite convincingly with what everyone said was the worst United squad probably for a very long time. And I don't know whether that was a poor EPL from everyone else that year, but you'd still expect that team was pretty much similar. Moyes didn't really bring in that many players. We all know the problems with that first transfer window, but you would have expected them to still finish in the top 4, and that's some of those games you don't expect United to lose at home to West Brom, to Swansea. I can't name, there's a lot of teams. But you still expect them to win it, I think. Even if, depending on the players, and even the manager, you still expect that team to win. And I think that's probably the main reason in the end, that even on the field, the players didn't have that drive, I don't think, to get them across the line. And maybe I think Welbeck came out in the last couple of days saying that he wasn't happy with Moyes and he didn't have that drive and didn't really learn anything from him. So,
And one more question for you. How heavily did the consecutive 3-0 home losses to arguably their 2 biggest rivals factor in really nailing the door closed for Moyes?
Like I just said, United have never really lost multiple games at home. I think the year before they might have only lost 1 or 2 games in the Premier League. To lose 11 or 10 or whatever it was at home, to drop that many points in front of a very vocal crowd is not good. And I think, especially, they didn't show fight in those 2 fixtures. Against Liverpool, I reckon it's the worst I've nearly seen United in a Liverpool United game ever. And that's even at Anfield. Even the one when we beat them 4-1 over there, they didn't play that badly compared to that day. So I think in the end it was the right decision. You would have liked to give him more time, probably, because he had 6 years and it was a very big decision. But again, that goes down to the Pardew situation now with Newcastle. Why do you give someone so many years?
Wasn't it 8 for Pardew?
Yeah, Pardew's given 8 after a 6-month good spell. And I wouldn't have thought his
Yeah.
Pardews' agent would have been pushing for 8 years.
Yeah.
That would probably been Mike Ashley trying to lock him in. But why do you lock someone in for 8 years? Because not all relationships even last for 8 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's going to end badly for someone most likely. So we all agree it was the right decision to sack Moyes in the end.
Definitely. Oh, I never thought it should have been appointed in the first place.
Yeah.
So it was always.
Would have you
gonna be
picked
the right
Harry
decision.
Redknapp?
As their successor, no, I wouldn't have. I would have gone for someone completely different to Sir Alex,
Yeah.
which is what they've done now.
With
But I,
Who was
exactly.
your Brian?
Well, I would have headhunted someone like potentially. I know Klopp's now said he would
Yeah.
have, but a Klopp or a Capello
Yeah.
or Conte from Juventus.
Okay.
Yeah.
These would have been, the right candidates. I think not someone completely
Yeah.
alike to Ferguson who hadn't had
Yeah.
the success that Ferguson has had. I just didn't think lightning was going to strike in the same place twice.
Okay, so we'll move off now from Moyes because we've got a lot of things to talk about this episode, guys. Next is Liverpool's rise. So me and Ellis have had a roller coaster season here, and I think Juice and I were saying before that he really enjoyed watching Liverpool this year. I have to say so. So Liverpool's rise. I'll start with you, Ellis. Did you see this coming at all? How quickly it happened?
What I did see coming was certainly an improved season
Yeah.
on the back of last season. But in the fashion that we went about things this year, annihilating teams, scoring goals for fun, that's not what I saw coming at all. I saw it as being more of a struggle, but eventually actually getting fourth this season and going from there. So basically mimicking the plan that Rodgers said he had, which was a 3-year plan.
Yeah.
And to almost win the Premier League after
In the second season.
in his second season is just a phenomenal achievement for Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So yeah, they certainly succeeded my expectations, and but now it's going to be hard to back that up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a difficult season, I think, next season, especially if we can't keep some key men.
I've got a question for you now, Juice. Do you think the squad depth in the end was the problem for Liverpool? 'Cause-
Potentially, you could say it was, but then I also think disrupting the squad and changing the squad can also have a major impact as well. I mean, Tottenham, for instance, a squad like us, we had a huge squad this season, but constantly changing that may have been a reason that it affected us and why we performed so poorly. But just on Liverpool, I just, as a neutral and not a Liverpool supporter, one thing I just loved about Liverpool this season was the real excitement they really bring. I mean, watching every game of theirs, it doesn't matter if you're a supporter or not, you just love to watch Liverpool. From the first minute the game started, they were out in attack and really went for it straight away. And I remember when we came to Anfield, just from the first minute, I was saying in that game, hopefully, we can keep them out for the first 5 minutes and then maybe see what we can do after that. But from the first minute, Liverpool went for it and got ahead. And they're just a really exciting team to watch, and it'll be great to see if they can back it up next season, because
Well, I think, Ellis, this is for you also now. The defence was obviously the problem that probably cost Liverpool in the end of the title
Definitely.
race. Conceding 50 goals, no team, I think, nearly even in the top 4 has ever done that in Premier League history. We obviously scored 101 or something, I think it was. So the defence was the problem. Rodgers needs to step that up. Would you see someone like Steve Clark coming back maybe to help him when we were doing so well? I think it was with Kenny. We had a really good defensive record. He's probably one of the best defensive coaches in the league. Now he's not at West Brom. Do you see something like that coming in maybe to help his defensive record? Because he was never really a great defensive coach, Rodgers.
Yeah, he's definitely a youthful kind of, his philosophy is certainly centered around attack. Let's say that, but I don't think it's got much to do with the coaching. I just think that
Concentration of players.
Yeah, concentration is a certain factor, but I think it comes more down to personnel at the end of the day. And when you look at a defence like Chelsea or Man City, who I know, had a lot of injuries towards the end of it, but these are all the kinds of defensive sectors that you aspire to have, and I just don't think. And we've chopped and changed. We brought in Sacco, who initially looked pretty sharp, but then he got injured, and then we thought, do we bring him back? Does he look sharp to begin with? And then who do we bring out? Daniel Agger never really was settled this season for me. He had a very hard season, and a lot of people think it's his last, which is understandable because he's not the kind of player that's going to.
He's not young anymore. He wants to.
He's
be
getting
playing.
up there, and he wants to be playing. He's not going to warm a bench. So, for me, it was all about just chopping and changing our back line, and
inexperienced with Flano there. He was
Flanagan,
excellent.
who had a fantastic season, but he's not the kind of player that you can rely on in a big game to actually. I know he did his job, but generally you wouldn't be able to just say, all right, let's throw in a kid for a game like this where there was so much. The Man City game, for example. You'd never, if you had someone more experienced, you'd never play him in a game like that. So, those are all reasons which came down to our very leaky season at the back.
So now moving off Liverpool now, because we'll probably talk about them later in our awards section. Now moving on to Crystal Palace and Sunderland's great escape. So probably a quarter of the way through the season when Holloway stepped down as Crystal Palace manager, did any of you see them getting out of their hole?
No, I didn't. The way they were playing at that point, they just looked like a club that was they were nervous. And also the players they had, it didn't look like they were good enough to be in the Premier League with their team. And suddenly, Pulis comes in and they're just completely different. We know what Pulis can do and what he did. Who was he at before? Stoic, and how well structured his teams are, and that's what he brought to Palace. And but they were also really exciting to watch. I think they went on a 7-game winning streak towards the end of the season as well. So that was to see them come out of it was really good. And who was the other one? It was Sunderland.
Coming out of nowhere with Connor Wickham.
Well, that was
and Barini. Stealing the shot.
And to some credit, Chris Poyet.
That's right. I love Poyet's passion as well. What he brings to Sunderland.
He turned Connor Wickham around from everyone. Remember when they signed him for $8 million? And same with Barini, he wasn't really doing too good.
No.
And then with 10 games to go, they've just both those players have flicked a switch basically and just turned it on.
And they went to Manchester United and won. They drew at City when they should have won. They won at Chelsea.
Did they win at United?
Yeah, they won at United. I remember.
That was when that was Giggs' second game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that cross came in and then I think it was Larson. That really good finish.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, sorry, so I'm thinking about Crystal Palace.
And they won at Chelsea as well, didn't they? So that was the first loss Mourinho's is it ever suffered.
As a Chelsea manager at Stamford Bridge. Now I know all of our TBTC members, have a shocking call in them every so often. And I've got a lot that are actually on air as well as behind the camera. But I'm just going to remind you of something you said.
Yes, when did I say that?
You said it at the Rosemont.
Yeah.
On a Saturday night when we were, we had a night of big drinking, heavy consumption, and we were watching some Premier League games after I think being at the Woolshed.
Yeah.
And we were discussing the tail end of the league. And
when was this? How long ago was this?
This was towards the start of the season.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 10 games in.
Yeah.
And we were discussing who was destined for the job. And, to be fair, it did look that way. But I remember Big Cuts putting down his pint and saying, Palace are gone for all money.
Oh, well,
they're out.
They were
they're done.
I think if you put money on Palace, if you put $100 on them when they sacked Holloway to stay up, you would be a very happy man. Like, even $1 right now, you would have probably... If we can find the odds for that, I'll try and find the odds for that when they sacked him, if they could stay up. But there's no way that they were going to stay up. And I think that's why their great escape's even better than Sunderland's, because they only had, I think when they sacked him, they had 3 points or something.
Yeah.
They had to get 38 points in 28 games. There's no way that was going to happen.
I remember Palace going to Liverpool towards the start of the season. I think it finished 3-1. So
4-1.
4-1, that's right. But I remember the first half, they were an absolute mess. It was terrible, and it could have been 6 or 7 by half time. So
I remember that goal that Suarez scored when fell on the ground.
And then
that's right.
They turned around and so did Sunderland. So now moving on. Luckily, we've got no Arsenal fans on the panel.
But we've got a Tottenham fan.
We've got a Tottenham fan, so
better.
you can bag in now. Now, where to now for Arsenal? Because obviously their season started with so much promise.
Yes.
Just before Christmas, they were top. They're looking very good. And then, like all Arsenal seasons, it just has to unravel. So, luckily in the end for them, obviously not for everyone else, they did end up getting rid of their 9-year trophy drought by winning the FA Cup at the end. But this is my question to both of you, has that clouded their judgment now in keeping Arsene? Because I seriously think, for myself, it would be time to get rid of him, some fresh blood in there. He's been there for over 15 years. They need someone new in there. And I think if they'd lost to Hull, they would have got rid of him. But now by winning that, it's like give him another 3-year contract. He's all right now. What's your opinions on that? Do you keep him? Well, obviously he's going to stay, but would have you got rid of him?
Look, most definitely I agree with you that it clouds the judgment. If you went up to a Gooner
in 2005
Yeah.
and said, would you like to keep Arsene if by 2014 you win your first trophy
Yeah.
since this current moment?
Yeah.
None would say that they want to keep
Yeah.
it. But throughout the time span that he's been there, he's obviously, in the more recent chapter, started this project
Yeah.
where...
But isn't it always Arsene having a project? Like every time, every 3 years that something doesn't happen, it's always the project is coming. Like,
Yeah, well,
more young kids come through.
Is
like,
he le professeur?
Yeah.
So I guess that, goes some way to sort of compensating for that. But I mean, it never used to be like this.
Yeah.
I mean, they always used to have, a very experienced, good crop of players. They always used to be right up there. Now, I mean, I think a few seasons back he said making the top 4 is an achievement alone now.
Yeah.
Which, to an extent, is correct. Now that there's outside teams.
There's 7
vying,
teams realistically nearly each season that can.
But I mean, as an Arsenal fan, you can't accept that, I don't think.
Yeah.
And
their standards have dropped.
they have, And I mean, if they continue to, I know they bought Ozil this season and won a trophy, which is very much, dissimilar to how things have been going for them, where in typical fashion they sell their best players. But I mean, just competing for a top 4 and maybe winning a Carling Cup or an FA Cup on the side just isn't going to be good enough.
Yeah.
And that's why I think personally, and I said this in my TBTC preview, I said that he was going to get sacked.
No, that was the point that we're putting in our montage later. Was that Ellis was first manager to be sacked was Arsene at the start of the season. That was before the show was coming. Which one? I watched the preview last night, and that was my funniest point. Was Ellis saying Arsene sacked in the first 10 games or something? Yeah,
that was my passion showing through. But I mean, I think that they do need a change of direction because it's been so long and so stale for so long that I just think they need they just need someone new there. Don't know about you, Juice.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion because you do look what he's done, and what is it them and Bayern Munich have made the top 4 over the last 20 years or something So they're always consistent under Wenger, and they do play an attractive style of football. But there's also a stat I think that shows that against the big clubs away from home, I think Arsenal this season it was scored 2, conceded.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Would have been over 10.
Well, maybe that was Tottenham actually as well. But
I think that's also Tottenham.
Yeah, they really struggled against the big clubs this season away from home, and I mean that's just a little thing as well. I mean it's obviously a huge thing, but it's interesting. I'm not sure whether sacking Wenger. I mean, what do you think that would do? Bringing in a who would you
Martinez
think?
or someone would be someone that you.
Who would you think would?
Roberto Martinez would be perfect
for Arsenal.
I think.
Would you though? A lot of Arsenal fans tried to actually get on the show today that were busy. Have said though that Arsene could go into like a director of the youth team and still have a position at the club. Would that again?
Would he want something like that?
But would that again be like
really cool?
Would that be again like Ferguson just still being behind the scenes and still be like these are the best players coming through? You can't pick your own. I know PSG and like the France national team are keen on Wenger. They always are. So whether actually maybe even a fresh change for him. I think after you've been at one job though for 15 years, wouldn't you want a change of scenery, especially when you haven't won much? It would have been good for him to actually leave after this FA Cup and go, I'm leaving now. I've got your trophy.
It's only 15 years. I thought it was more.
What, since they won it? It's probably more. It's probably 17 or 18 years now. I'm just guessing.
I'm pretty sure he's 97.
Something like that. Yeah, 96, 97, about then.
So we think the board's judgments have been clouded.
Oh yeah, certainly. If they hadn't won the FA Cup, he would have been gone.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple.
I think they've definitely
serious questions.
They've definitely been affected. Whether he gets sacked though, I'm not sure. I don't know. I think he might have stayed actually. I like what Wenger's brought to Arsenal, and their standards have definitely dropped over a period of time, but they were top this season for 100 the most days in the Premier League. So, and if Ramsey hadn't got injured, and I feel he was crucial to their season, it could have been
off everyone else.
Yeah, it could have been so different. So I don't know. I like Wenger.
Oh yeah, I
That's
think
good
in
for
the end it
Arsenal.
will be like Ferguson. He'll have to step down before they sack him.
Oh,
I think that it's going to have to be he will take the leap of faith and say I'm off, guys, now. And I think he'll try for probably a couple more seasons to win that Premier League.
Yeah.
With the current squad he's got. But
Let me just say that he's lucky, in my opinion, that Hull scored their goals so early.
there's.
I mean, if they had scored those goals in like the 40th and 60th minute, Arsenal would not have won that game.
No, when you score 2 goals in the first 10,
Yeah.
Arsenal can beat Hull 3-0 anyway in 90 minutes. So
Yeah. Which they did.
Yeah.
I think it was it 4-0 even?
Yeah, a couple of weeks before.
Yeah,
I think
in the
it was.
Premier League, so.
Okay, now moving into the final discussion point, guys, was the relegation battle. So, one team that obviously I've got a couple of friends who are Fulham fans, shout out to Ned Dart. But did anyone see Fulham going down? Because the players they brought in, obviously the manager there at the start of the season, they had 3 managers during the year.
Yeah.
Record buys in Mitroglou, who played 1 game, I think,
Yeah, that was a bit
off
of
the
a
bench.
disaster.
That was
Yeah.
a random signing for me, especially with Greece in the World Cup. Is that correct? Greece are in the World Cup?
Yes.
Yeah.
They are.
That's what I was just saying. Yeah, I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
But I think that was an interesting decision for him to go to Fulham before the season is ended. And now they're relegated, so what's he going to do? But what do you make of Fulham's season, guys?
Yeah, it was obviously disappointing to go down. Did I see it coming?
No.
I'm not really sure. I suppose since they lost Dempsey a
Yeah.
few years ago, Fulham have been on a steady decline. So
And Dembele.
yeah, Dembele as well. They lost a few players that came to Tottenham and then have moved on since then. But yeah, I'm not really sure about Fulham. And they've since a few years ago, they've never been a team to really convince me. I remember I used to always think, oh, Fulham, a top 10 side, but my standards of the club have slowly changed over time, and but they did have quality in the team. They brought Holtby in as well in January, who I thought would be hugely influential to the side. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I could have seen them going down at the start of the season, possibly.
Yeah. One thing for you, Alice. Do you think of Fulham, that's what I always thought of it, was just sort of the team in mid-table obscurity, that each year just always end up in like between 13 and 9th, that get 12 wins, 12 losses, 12 draws, that just sort of sit around that middle spot. You don't really ever think about them ever sort of being in a relegation battle, and once they got in it, since that time where Roy got them out of it, they haven't really had that. They just sort of finished in the middle. Same with Stoke under Pulis. It was just sort of, they were always there, never really went high, never really went lower. But this year they didn't really know how to get themselves out of a relegation.
No, they didn't, and it's a bit of a shame because they're actually quite a proud club.
Yeah.
Fulham. They're one of the more genuine clubs. I think they play. I remember George Labridge telling me when he went to the Craven Cottage and watched them play. He said it was not like the commercialised stadiums that you get in the Premier League these days. It was very, very genuine. You just felt like you were out, in a park somewhere, just watching your local team.
Yeah.
And so
the atmosphere.
So I mean, especially for a London club as well, it's disappointing that they've gone down, but I'm sure that they'll do a QPR and be right back up.
That's probably sometimes the best to get rid of the deadwood, because they did have players like Reisa and stuff. I saw one guy, it was a ridiculous call on one of the Liverpool things, saying now that Reisa is a free agent, Liverpool should be going in for him for their left back berth because he's still good enough. It's probably the most ridiculous call I've seen on social media all year. He is nowhere near as good. I remember it's the same with Gerrard, not in the same, but remember his long range bombs. Reisa hits one of them like every 3 years. Gerrard doesn't hit one for years, but everyone still goes, oh, Reisa's going to hit that one. Like, he's not good enough anymore, but I think that's the reason. They also had Damien Duff. They had players who were too past their prime that they weren't getting the best out of. But next, talking about Cardiff, interesting decision to get rid of Mackay. I think that was... It didn't need to be sacked. Obviously, the owner, Vincent Tan, was keen to get someone else in because they didn't see eye to eye. But in the end, was that the reason they did go down? Because most people thought Cardiff would have stayed up with Mackay because he was going to get the best out of his players.
Yeah, I thought it was sad to see Mackay go. I liked him as a person, as a manager as well. Everything he had to say was really genuine as well, and really meant it. And, it just frustrates you with these football owners, some of them, and he changed the club's colours as well, didn't he?
And apparently he's changing them back now.
Is he changing them back now?
Yeah,
because
they're
going back to blue.
He wants them now to go back.
At least.
Now he wants to go back to blue. That's what I heard. I think it was on the Mirror reporting that a couple of weeks ago, because the fans are now not part of the
Revolting.
club, and stuff. So he's like, I've got to go back now because they did get relegated. He said that obviously change the colours and stuff would be a bright future, and now they've gone down, so he wants to go back.
Yeah. And I also felt sorry for Solskjaer coming in.
Yeah.
I thought there was so much pressure on him from not only the Vincent Tan, but also the fans of the club, because they think, oh well, he's got to come in now and basically to do better than Mackay and follow up. And it was difficult for him, and it's very difficult season for the
question
fans
I've got for you, Ellis, is do you think it was the right decision for Solskjaer to take the job? Because personally, when I saw it, I actually hoped for him, because I know he's a very good young manager where he was managing before, but I think it was the wrong decision for his career path.
Totally agree.
To make that choice to go there, because I think there was a manager, there's decisions you always make that Pulis was took 2 weeks to decide on the Crystal Palace job because he didn't know if the squad was ready and whether this is his right time to go back. So I think it was the same as Mark Hughes. You've got to make your right decision to come in, especially your first Premier League job when you haven't been managing in the Championship. Yeah. He's nearly shot himself in the foot now because he's not going to get another Premier League job, and now he's going to have to work his way back up now. So
look, it was a very bad decision. I mean, he needed to start fresh from day one, just to actually show the fans this is my work. Yeah. Not, 2 months before the end of the season where he doesn't have time to work with the squad and do what he needed to do, and that was keep them up. And they were never going to stay up for me. No. It didn't matter who you were going to bring in. They looked like they were going down, and I think that's because their club was actually so badly burdened by Vincent Tan and his ridiculous decision making. I remember seeing.
Is that meme?
Yeah, there was something about saying that he needed to win the Super Bowl and stuff to keep his job.
Love the moon.
Vincent Tan had no idea.
I think my favourite meme was the Team America come into my office. Mr. Solskjaer. That was a good one. But now, just remembering quickly one of the funny bits from the predictions montage I'll put up later was when you said Wilfried Zaha is going to be the young player of the season. I had a good chuckle at that. That will come up in our predictions montage in about a minute. But finally, guys, before we move into this montage, Norwich went down. I think they just also not a good team this season. Getting rid of Houghton then with 4 games to go. When they still had Liverpool,
Chelsea, Arsenal, United.
Yeah. What was that going to do? I mean, seriously, that didn't make any sense. No. But I've never really been a fan of Norwich as a club. I mean, I didn't like... What was their old manager that's now Aston Villa?
Nigel Houghton.
Nigel Houghton.
Ricky Lane, sorry.
Ricky Lane.
I was never really a fan of
Nigel Houghton.
Paul Lambert.
Paul Lambert, that's it.
We're getting there in the end.
I was never really a fan of him from the early days. And I don't know, I just hate that. I hate the atmosphere inside of their stadium as well. They bring in clappers as well. I mean, that has nothing to do with my dislike for the club.
Yeah.
But I just don't like Norwich as a football club. So I'm not disappointed to see them go down, that's for sure, boys.
Okay, guys, that was some good discussion we had there. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Now go into our hilarious predictions montage that had some absolute crackers from our preview. So I enjoy that, and we'll be back in a sec with our awards section of the show. Cheers. My best player, I think, will be Juan Mata. I think reasons why they were trying to sell him, I don't know. He's a star. He's got everything. He can play in the centre, can play out wide, scores goals. Will get you 15 and 15, I think, most seasons. So I think he'll be the best player. Ben Gillen.
Philip Coutinho.
Yeah.
I think he's a wizard.
Yeah.
And he's just been such a good pickup. I mean, I know it's crazy to suggest that the best player is someone that's cost $8 million, but I honestly rate him that highly.
And an Inter Milan reject.
Yeah, I just think he's been phenomenally good at Liverpool, and if he can stay injury free and play as many games as he can, then I think he'll be really, really good.
Do you see him then making the Brazil? Does he make the Brazil squad then and start in
absolutely,
Brazil?
Absolutely. He's in the starting team for sure. But if he can,
set the Premier League.
If he gets 12 assists this season and a handful of goals and is an integral part of the team's success, then I have him in my starting Brazil team.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. I had Wilfried Zaha from Man United. I think he's a really quick player, and I think in a team that is not going to perform as well as it should, I think he'll be the one light at the end of the tunnel for them.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to make the point on I know I'm getting a bit behind United for some strange reason here, but going on their pre-season, Jesse Lingard.
Yeah, that kid is.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I think if he can break into the team, that's all that he needs to do. And if he can do that, then it's out of him and Zaha.
I think we'll see. Actually, Andre Schürrle is going to really struggle to find his way into the Chelsea side, especially in a World Cup year. I thought it was quite interesting that he made the switch over, because they've already got, as I said, Mata, Hazard, Oscar. In that
I would have
sort
gone
of
to a
midfield
bigger German club.
Yeah,
Or at least tried to. I would have gone to a Dortmund or a...
I think Bayern would have been too hard to get into, but I would try for Dortmund. For 18 million, I think it's a good price tag for him, but I think he'll just struggle to get into the team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And manager of the year, Vias Boas.
Yeah.
That's a pretty safe one, I reckon.
Yeah, it'll be good. Okay, final thing for our...
Rings in the team, and then I've got Demba Ba and
That's an interesting choice.
and Luis Suarez up forward.
So you think Demba
In a
will
4-4-2.
lead the line for Chelsea?
Yeah,
Demba will?
I do think that. Because Torres is just too hit and miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He only got goals in bars.
He got heaps of...
Well, I've gone with Arsene Wenger to get the first sack of the season because I think that he's not really going to sign anyone. And they're not going to perform amazingly well in the start of the season. And I think, given how stale it already is with him at Arsenal, I think that there needs to be some kind of immediate success, surely, because why would you want to keep him? He's just been there so long, so many broken promises. And
Okay, my best young player, I think I'm going to go for Raheem. I think he'll just, after last year, not playing the whole second half of the year, I think he's learnt from that.
Raheem, who
Raheem Sterling, that lad. I think he'll have a good year. I think if he can even notch 5 goals up and just 10 assists, I think it'll be more important because he only had like 2 assists, I think, last year and 2 goals or something. So I think it'll be important he gets on the score sheet more. Your prediction now, top scorer. I've got mine's a bit of a out there one, but his statistics last year were excellent. Danny Sturridge was around 24 goals, I reckon. For Liverpool, he had a goal a game at the end of the year, so I think he'll be quite good. He knows where the goals are.
I've gone with worst signing. It's got to be Anelka.
Yeah.
Because he's got a knack for being the worst signing.
Yeah. And what a montage section there we had, boys. We were just
Hard to watch.
There were some great calls, some bad calls. So now we're going to move on to our award section of the program. We're going to go through our player, manager, goal of the season that we can remember, signing, worst signing, breakout star and young player, and then our team of the season. We're going to try and whip through this as quick as possible, guys. Might try and give it a minute on each award.
Okay.
Maybe even 20 seconds to say why each of those players from our list deserve that. So for the player of the season, guys, it's between Suarez, Gerrard, Sturridge, Toure, not Colo, Lallana and Hazard. Ellis, go. You've got 20 seconds, mate. Who do you choose?
Luis Suarez, 100%. Amazing season. Over 30 goals. Pretty much carried us through a lot of the way. And I think he was absolutely remarkable. Especially by the fact that his future looked so gloomy a few months before. He was suspended. Fans didn't want him, etc., and to come back like that was phenomenal. So for me, Suarez, 100%.
Juice.
Yep, Luis Suarez as well. Unbelievable season, such an exciting player. Had the cloud of doubt at the start of the season. Would he go? Would he not go? Just goes on, plays, misses the first 5 games through suspension or something. Unbelievable player. What a season.
I've got to go Suarez too. 31 goals. Equal on assists, I think, or he might have been just lost that for Gerrard in the last game of the season. He can do all things. He scores, he sets up. I just think, obviously, I don't want to get into the debate of the start of the season, what we all had, but in the end, he's come back and we all love him.
That's true. We do love him.
Suarez also won our player of the season on our poll on the Facebook page.
Yes, he did.
Congratulations, Lewis.
Well done, Louis.
If you see this, well done.
Box of favourites.
Box of favourites. If you want the box of favourites, please message the page and we will hand deliver them to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
you don't get favourites in England.
Manager of the season, guys, between Rodgers, Bruce, Pulis, Mourinho, Pellegrini and Martinez. Ellis.
For me, Pellegrini actually gets it.
Yeah.
I think just coming into the City's side and doing what he had to do, which was win the Premier League with a list that they've got. for me shows his managerial qualities, and fair play to Brendan. He had a great season, and I think it's harsh that he misses out for me, but unfortunately I give it to Manu Pellegrini.
I'm going to go Brendan Rodgers. Just he has a goal about how he wants to play, and we sort of saw that last season with Liverpool, I think, to an extent, and he just continued with that this season, and we've seen what they've been able to achieve. So, me, Brendan Rodgers.
I've gone with Tony Pulis, but I think Pellegrini, like you said, Alice, hasn't got enough talk in this subject all at the end of the season. With basically between Rodgers and Pulis, he's had to come in, Pellegrini, to a very tough.
Have we even mentioned that Manchester City won the Premier League?
Yeah, I know. That's
on this chat.
Congratulations, Manchester City,
well
winning the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of been that sort of season.
Yeah.
Though. That's why we forget about Pellegrini and we forget about even Yaya Toure when it comes into the best player of the season, because Liverpool were so good for it, but City just sat there at number 2 basically all year, and like Mario Kart, just pipped it at the end with a banana.
Someone
with a slip
on the banana. Sorry, Stevie.
Yeah, sorry, Stevie, love you. But I've gone with Tony Pulis. I think what he did was magical in the last 27 games with Crystal Palace, turning them into an exceptional team. And I think next year is going to be the key for him, though, whether he can build on that. They're rode a wave now, but whether they can go back and continue doing well if he keeps them in mid-table obscurity like his Stoke sides. Now, goal of the season, guys. I don't have really a list of them because I think a lot of us have that favourite goal. What was your favourite goal off the top of the head?
100% Luis Suarez versus Norwich.
Which one? There's like 3 of them.
The lob.
The lob.
It was just amazing. It just really, it depicted all of his qualities in one motion for me.
Juice?
Jack Wilshere. I just loved that goal. I was watching that live and I just
Which
remember the one with the Giroud flick.
The build-up. The build-up, that's
just watching it live, and I thought at the moment, like, oh, that's special.
Was that against Hull?
No, Norwich again. So how good is it they're down? It's just terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. Suarez is going to hate that now because he scores against them for fun. My favourite goal, though, was the other one against Norwich for Suarez. The one where he flips it over that defender and then he pulls back, like he fake shots halfway in the air and then hits it on the side and just curls into the corner. That was my favourite, because I think that also showed all his qualities that he has. He is the 3rd best player in the world, I have to say.
Where's Gareth Bale at the moment, boys?
I reckon. That's another discussion. We have that at the end of the show. We'll have that at the end of the show.
Gareth Bale's down there.
Now, signing of the season, guys. So this is a very tough one to, I reckon, even put 6 guys down. We've gone with Kolka, Barini, Fernandinho, Matic, Boney and Lukaku. So who do you go for, Alex?
I'll go for Lukaku because I think he just gave Everton what they needed up forward. I think he spearheaded them through their very promising season, which it was for most part. And I think if they didn't have Lukaku up forward, they wouldn't have won as many games or gotten as many points as they did. He was so influential, especially against Liverpool in Game 1 at Everton. So for me, Lukaku gets player of the season. Signing of the season.
Do you reckon now Mourinho would still be sitting back? I know he said, come out saying that it doesn't matter that Lukaku's gone, but why are they still going? This discussion could go on for forever. Why are they still going for world-class strikers when they have one sitting right there? It's like, to be honest with you, they paid $20 million for a 17-year-old who we all knew was going to be a star. And yet they just they don't want him.
I think they just want to roughen him up a bit and not have to pay his wage bill. And then wait for him, wait for the development to be done,
and wait for he's there and he's ready and he's
primed, and then I think that's when they'll say enough's enough.
I think for him though, Lukaku said that he doesn't want to be a Chelsea player. That when Chelsea won the Champions League, he threw away his medal or something because he said he didn't play in the Champions League. I don't deserve a medal. I want to win the Champions League.
How does he win a medal? Don't you need to play a certain amount of games?
No, because he was on the bench. I think all you have to do is be on the bench, and he was on the bench that time.
Oh, so they terminated the...
No. He got the medal. He took the medal and he said, "I don't want it. I'm not yet. I don't want. This is not my medal."
But he was at Everton for the duration of the season.
Not when they won the Champions League.
I think he's been in 2012.
Yeah, when they won in 2012 when he was 17 or 18.
Oh, so you're talking about the recent... Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah. Sorry. Juice.
Difficult decision. I went for Fernandinho. I really liked Fernandinho. I thought his first half of the season was stronger than his second half. I remember midway through the season, I had him in my own team of the season kind of thing. But his second half of the season was still good, and he was still pivotal in Manchester City winning the Premier League title. So I've gone for him.
I've gone. Well, my second best signing was Kolka, who I guessed.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be excellent, and Jesus Tottenham mob got rid of him too early, I have to say.
Yeah.
But I've gone for Boney here because he scored 20 goals, and I think he's really sort of. We forget how many goals he scored and how good he was for Swansea, and I wouldn't be surprised if a big club comes in for him and the 10 million they paid for him, or do they pay more than that? I know that they'll double that now. Like, he's strong, he's direct, he's like him and Lukaku. He's like you don't get those players that often, and I think he'll go to another bigger club. And I think he's scored nearly a goal a game, or even more than that. In 2 seasons now, so at his last club and then this club at Swansea. So now we'll move on to the worst signing, guys. This can get a lot of chat, I reckon. I've got here Maddo. It's a bit of an interesting choice, even though he was my prediction for best player of the year. That was obviously when I thought he was going to play at Chelsea. Then Fellaini, Lamela, I've got Aspas, Ricky Van Vusswinkel, and Jovetic. So Vangeli, we'll start with you, mate. Who do you go for?
Look, it's. I'll divide it out. I think if you're going on money spent, it has to be Fellaini, because he just did not deliver at all. You know, he became, a bit of a hack with his elbowing. Didn't score a goal, and
had 1 assist. What was that parried shot from in the last game of the season?
37 million for that is a stinker.
Did they pay 37?
Yeah, it was a lot.
37 million.
I thought it was 27.
Oh, it might have been.
I thought it was 24 was his buyout, and then they paid over that to 28.
Well,
That's still a lot of money.
Yeah, it's still a lot of money for him.
It's a lot of money. Okay, and then if you're going on actual who just performed the worst, it's Aspas. Without having got much of a chance, we have to say, but in the time that he did play, he was almost comically bad. Especially his corner against Chelsea. Wow.
Jeez.
Alright, boys, I've got Eric Lamela, Roberto Soldado, and Nassir Chadley. 3 Tottenham players in a season where at the beginning there was a lot of promise for Tottenham. I remember thinking, this is the one. We can maybe even give the title to Till. We bring in all these quality players.
You did.
And basically, all of them are flops, basically, apart from Christian Eriksen. So,
and he was one of the cheapest ones.
Exactly. He was probably the cheapest one out of all of them. But Soldado and Lamela. I mean, Lamela was injured for a lot of the season, so we got to remember that, that. Injuries happen, and
but Soldado was just playing bad.
Can't play when you're injured, but Soldado was terrible. I mean, 11 goals throughout the whole season from a man that scored
most
30,
penalties.
I think about 80% were penalties. And all of his goals came in the first half of the season, which was still bad. His first half was bad, and then it was like the second. It was like a tap in against Cardiff. That was the only goal he scored. So he was a disgrace, and I think he'll go at the end of this season personally.
I have to go. Fellaini was shocking, and I can see Lamela. They spent too much money on him anyway, I think. And Aspas was appalling, but I think when you go down to it, Ricky Van Vusswinkel, I think we forget about how bad a signing he actually was. When 2 years ago, United, Liverpool, Chelsea were all in for him, before he even moved to Sporting Lisbon, he scored a goal in his first game. And I think he had like less than 10 shots on target for the rest of the season. That's 37 games without a goal. And I think he played,
Scored another goal.
Yeah, he scored in the first game, and I remember people going, signing of the season here, watch out. What about the big clubs? Should have signed him. It was cheap, like 8 million or something for them. But he was a point. And then one I also forgot was Cornelius that Cardiff signed for 8 million.
Oh, wow.
Who's that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Who's that? They signed him from FC Copenhagen, and then he just does nothing. I think Van Vusswinkel, even though I gave my circle here to Lamela, more I think about it, Van Vusswinkel was more of a because Norwich's season was on here. And instead they had to go to Snodgrass or something for their goals.
But you have to take into account that he's playing in a team that's not too crash hot.
Oh, I know, but when your season starts with a goal in your first game and everyone's like, here we go, like what a signing we've pulled out here. I think it's the same with Fellaini was shit. So breakout star guys. I think this is a pretty tough one actually. This we got here. I've got Ramsey, Henderson, Barkley, Ozzy, Miller, Jedinak. Lallana and Sterling.
God, that's tough. That's the toughest
breakout player. I'll start this one now. Just go. I've had to go to Ramsey, but I think Hendo and him are pretty tight. Ramsey's gone from scoring 1 or 2 goals a season to he's a superstar player. Not like he is a very good footballer now. So I have to give it to him. But I think Henderson's changed himself and turned all the Liverpool fans and even England fans now who he should be starting in the World Cup. I hope for England. But also Barkley's been excellent. Miller Jedinak has been. Actually, for the Who Scored, was the best central. WhoScored.com was the best central midfielder in the Premier League based on statistics. And then Lallana has been excellent too. And then Sterling if you're going with just pure breakout, his second half of the season was nearly the best player in the league at that
Yeah,
point in the season.
exactly right. Look, it's a very, 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 very hard one, and you know, I'd almost admittedly say Henderson purely based on the bias that I have towards Liverpool because it's so hard.
And especially when the 3 games he was out for at the end of the season after that red card against City showed the importance he was to Rodgers'
100%.
like clockwork that he has with all the players knowing what they do. Yeah.
But then I mean, you look at Millet, who, like you said, statistically was the best.
Most interceptions, most tackles.
And really drove that Palace
in their even when they were shit Palace, he was good.
He was great. Lallana, amazing for Southampton. Ramsey, obviously for Arsenal, and Barkley for Everton, who people were saying is going to be the next Gerrard. I think that's unfair. So early on to liken him to a player like Gerrard, I think it's a lot of unfair pressure on him. But
for what he's shown though, that goal against City though, I remember sitting in bed hoping Everton would do us a job. And he pulls out that curler. I think that's that's in my top 5 goals of the season.
Yeah.
And just the quote by whoever it was is the Barclays Premier League. And I was just like, he has been waiting all season to say that.
Yeah.
And I remember everyone was on Twitter just like face palming, just like, oh no, great call, Juice. Who's your breakout star?
I really liked Lallana's game. And also Barkley. I think they're quality players. But I'm gonna have to agree with you guys with Henderson.
Yeah.
I had to sit through and watch Jordan Henderson destroy Tottenham at White Hart Lane.
I think he did it twice.
He did it twice. But I remember his game at White Hart Lane was just magical.
Yeah, it was.
He really controlled it.
He runs like a headless chicken.
Yeah. No, he was awesome.
Now, guys, young player of the season. This is the last one before we get into our team of the season. I've got Shaw, Barkley, Sterling, Januzaj, Redmond, and I know on our Facebook page I put a joke in there for Songo because that was pretty funny. I think Stones though for Everton also had a great season in the second half. Being in now the World Cup 7-man, also training on team for England. So yeah, who do you go with, Ellis?
Raheem Sterling for me.
Yeah.
He was just impeccably good all season, and I think Barkley and Januzaj were also lively, but I think Sterling actually just his work ethic this season was ridiculous, and his pace and everything just shone through. And I think 100% Raheem Sterling.
England have a star instead of Liverpool. Like he is the one guy I think from watching a player in the last couple of years who can be like a Ronaldo or something, but I seriously think we know his talent. I remember watching his games as a 15-year-old when he scored 6 or something against someone else in the under 21s or something for Liverpool. Not many players have what he has, and that composure in that City goal, I think showed how much he's grown over a season from that. I remember when him and Suso were on the wings in the start of the season before, and it was basically just he's still going, mate.
Yeah, I like him.
When it was just pace and no real thinking, and now he's sort of come out and learn, and he's a smart player. Juice, who do you pick?
Yeah, 2 words, Raheem Sterling.
Yeah.
Just loved his game. He's a great player.
That's like 8 words now, Juice.
Oh yeah, it's slowly growing. Someone's going to stop.
Yeah, Raheem gets it for me. I won't talk on why I've already said it. Now, guys, team of the season. We'll go through because I don't know what formations you've picked, but Ellis, who do you go with your team of the season?
Oh, you have to go back to me last.
Yeah, you just thought of, okay, I'll go first then. My goalkeeper, I reckon, was a tough one because Marshall was excellent for Cardiff. He'll get a job in a Premier League team this season, even as an understudy. But then Czech also had a good season, and then Joe Hart was also alright. But most keepers this year had blunders, so I don't think there's one real standout. But I think Marshall gets it for his amount of saves, and without him, Cardiff would have been down well before they were. Zabaleta gets my right back berth with Coleman as his very close understudy. Coleman scored a lot of goals, but I think Zabaleta. We've talked a lot about this with people. Just he was so cheap coming from. He was Espanyol, and he's turned himself into be one of the best right backs in the world. I think. Next, I've got Terry and Cahill at centre backs. I can't really think of anyone else because City, everyone's sort of been injured on and off. Not really a full season. Coulter would sort of be there, but again, you can't really have a centre back. I know it's the same as having a goalkeeper, but in your team of the season that's gone down. I know Liverpool. No one's really shone through. So I've gone those 2. Shaw at left back, Gerrard and Toure in the centre of mid, speaks for himself. Hazard and Lallana on the left wing and right midfield. Then Sturridge and Suarez up top. Sterling's unlucky to miss, but Hazard also had an excellent season instead of Lallana. Juice?
Yeah, I don't really have a full team. Just got a few mentions, but I think Marshall or Lloris Maybe I'm a bit biased being a Tottenham supporter, but I thought Lloris was so important to us. I mean, in a season when defensively we were absolutely woeful and we made so many mistakes at the back, he was so important and kept us in some games. But then Marshall as well was huge. Toure in the midfield, you know, he's obviously going to be there. Such an important player. Steven Gerrard also a brilliant player. Then up front I had Suarez and Sturridge, two brilliant forwards. That's all I got really.
Well, keeping wise was actually going to say Lloris as well. I thought he was the glimmer of hope you had in a very turbulent season. At right back, I've gone with Coleman. I thought he was tremendous for Everton. Given that he cost them $400,000, you know, it's ridiculously fortunate for them to pick up such a good player. Central defensive, centre back, I've gone with John Terry, and I'm going to say, I know it wasn't his best season, but I'm just going to say Vincent Kompany because he captained the Premier League winning team. Left back, Shaw, 100%. Then I'd have central defensive midfield wise, I'd have David Luiz and John Terry and Toure. Then on Gutsy's already looking at me thinking, what drugs is this guy?
Where are you putting Gerrard?
I'm not including Gerrard. I know.
Well, okay, I'm going to ask you right now. Who had a better season in the centre mid, Luiz or Gerrard? Go. You continue yours.
I'm basing this more on my players that I like in who I'd have a team. In who I would have in my team, not necessarily who performed the best.
Okay.
So let's clarify that. So then on the wings, I'd have Sterling and Hazard. And then up forward, probably I'd go with Suarez and...
Struggling to remember someone else?
No, I want Sturridge to be in there, but...
Aguero. No, I actually... when you said Demba Ba for top goal scorer.
Did I actually say that?
Yeah. Okay, guys. Let's is out of here. Now let's continue, Juice.
Let's go on.
Quick, so that's the end of our EPL. Congratulations to Manchester City for winning the season. Luis Suarez for winning our Player of the Season and also the PFA, and I think Yaya Toure won the EPL Player of the Season. Now, Juice, one thing we were talking about before, I don't know if Ellis is actually going to come back, is...
he's gone.
He's out of here. Do you reckon they should have a 3-2-1 voting after each game that the referee does to make a sort of like, in the AFL we have a Brownlow and stuff, just so it's like, it's a fair award, because the PFA award's given out 4 games before the end of the season. I think what is ridiculous. Do you think maybe like a voting system somehow that the referees do after each game?
Absolutely, I think that would be fantastic, and a voting system would be great. I mean, like you said, with the canning out 4 games early, I mean, so much can change in 4 games. I mean, like we were saying before, Liverpool were probably the team in front with 4 games to go, but then Manchester City end up winning the title. So does that change then who wins the Player of the Season? Is it Suarez or is it, you know, Toure potentially? So
You're right, mate. We just asked the fans whether they should have the 3-2-1 voting. Alice?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, quickly, guys, we'll go into our quick World Cup preview before we do a full World Cup preview. It's in 17 days from when we're filming this. Guys, who wins the World Cup for you?
Australia, mate. Bloody, we're there.
Adam Taggart for most goals.
If you're the golden boot in the A-League, you're the golden boot in the World Cup.
Nah, serious note, Van Gaal, who wins?
I'm going to go with Brazil. Host nation.
Yeah. It's theirs to lose.
Yeah, it'd be great for football, I think, if Brazil won. You know, there's been so much things have gone wrong in the country. It'd be just awesome if they got up.
Just quickly, how sour is it that Brazilians don't want the World Cup?
No, they don't want it. I think it's the same with the Olympics. They couldn't.
Yeah, which is just
we'd have it in a heartbeat. Australia would be ready to have the World Cup, I reckon.
Yeah,
in 2 weeks we could host it.
We'd be ready.
Yeah, you just go AFL, you guys can go play at shitty little small grounds.
Oh, they'd cancel AFL probably. They'd be like, Port Adelaide's top, so...
No, Australia could host. Look at Hindmarsh.
Yeah.
What if we had like Iran versus like Greece or something?
Hey, leave the Greeks out of it.
That group game, that would get a crowd.
Yeah,
Think
I'd
of the
go.
tourism for Adelaide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, we
Or
should
we could
have
even throw them out at Park 17.
Yeah.
Oh, we can rap.
Great, cool. Okay, now guys, quickly, who gets your golden boot for the World Cup and best player?
Juice.
What was the question? Sorry. Who gets
Golden boot and best player.
Golden boot? Oh, I'll probably just go someone like Ronaldo for golden boot and best player. Let's go Messi. Messi and Ronaldo, boys.
Couldn't it be any more stereotypical? You say, I don't know anyone else in the world. Ronaldo, Messi.
Well,
yeah, I reckon for my goal, but I was actually going to say Suarez before he did his knee,
Yeah.
because I reckon he's going to go into it with a bit of form. I'm actually going to go, I reckon my Sturridge love is going to continue on that. I reckon he'll get like 4, I reckon.
Yeah.
And because England will go out in the group stage though, he'll only play a certain amount of minutes, so then it will mean he wins it because of that, like how it works with Thomas Muller and Dario Forlan last time, when he played the less minutes.
Yeah.
For the same amount of goals, maths comes into the equation. And then I reckon best player, it's always someone that's sort of a bit out there. I don't know whether it would be like if Brazil win,
Yeah, Neymar.
starting to rain. Yeah, not Neymar, but one of the other guys, maybe like a Paulinho or someone who's integral. Starting to rain, guys, we better get out of here. The sound is going to speak a bit louder now because the rains have come.
The heavens have opened.
Oh look, it's just... okay. Thank you guys for watching it. Thanks, Alice, for being on again, mate.
Well, I
Enjoy
was actually just going to say my 2
Oh, yes. Yeah.
players. Aguero for golden boot,
Yep.
which is a bit of a hit and miss with Argentina because
Yeah.
you never know how they're going to go. Then I'm going to say Neymar for Brazil for player of the tournament.
Yeah.
He's going to be influential.
Thank you, Juice, for coming. Great
boys.
insight, mate. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Great experience.
Yes, so make sure you follow Juice on his Twitter feed that is right here. Some very interesting stuff that you tweet, mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, it is interesting.
Okay, guys, so keep updated with the latest stuff on our website. Also, with the World Cup coming up, me and Alice and some other guys will be getting in. Oh, perfect. No rain. We're getting together and doing our World Cup previews. So please keep an eye on that, Alice. Thank you for having you again, mate. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so guys, make sure you like, subscribe and everything else, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.